Hello friends, it is that time of year again. It is final season, and I thought it would be a good idea to bring you guys along this entire week of me studying and preparing for my finals, so I hope you enjoy it, and let's just get started. I think it's the 15th today, and I'm on my way to the library because finals are coming up, and I just want to find a different place to study. I really like changing up my study location whenever I do have to study for any bigger exams or tests. I don't know, I feel like it just is nice and it works and it helps me focus better. So I'm just packing my bags. I'm gonna bring all my chargers. I'm bringing my iPad with me, my laptop, my laptop stand as well, my water bottle, and then I'm also gonna bring some snacks with me. So yeah. This study vlog begins on Saturday, April 22nd, and I decided to go to the library to study. Don't get me wrong, I love my room. I tend to find that I can be somewhat productive in here, but I knew going forward, if I really wanted to get a lot of work done, I was going to have to go somewhere else. And this change of setting, I feel like it made the world of a difference. I went to the library and I had one of the most productive study sessions I've had in a while, so I was very happy and very grateful for that. So today I decided that I was going to study for my accounting final and my leadership final. I'm studying for my accounting final just because it's a class that I struggle with the most, and it has nothing to do with the professor. It really is the content, the material. I just absolutely despise it. And then my leadership exam was the first exam that I was writing. So overall, this was a very productive, efficient, and effective day. I also really like the room that I was studying too. It looks really cool as well. So yeah. Now onto Sunday. I do understand that it's only the second day in this study vlog, but I was struggling a lot this day. I did not want to do schoolwork. There were a million other things that I would have preferred to do instead of sit down and studying, but I did push through, and I had originally intended to go to the library to study, but obviously that didn't work out, so I ended up just staying at home and I studied on my bed. And I know you're not supposed to study on your bed and get schoolwork done, but I don't know. My bed just felt more comfortable than my desk, which obviously that makes sense because you know it's a bed. But anyways, long story short, I got the work that I needed to get done, so I'm very happy about that. So yeah. Good morning, friends. It is Monday, April 24th, and tomorrow is when I start writing my first exam because I have one Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we're gonna head over to the library to study. Now on to day 3. This was Monday, and this was Monday, April 24th. And I really like this day just because I didn't have any classes or anything, so I was able to dedicate the entire day to studying. One thing that I've really been trying to do is before I leave my house, I'll try to pack food with me, just because I don't like to go out and like buy food, just because like it's just expensive, and I already knew I had the ingredients to make whatever I wanted to eat at home, so I did that. So then anyways, I headed over to the library, and you can see that I'm studying in a different location. My goodness, I didn't know my library had this specific study space, but I absolutely loved it. So pretty much what it is it's just this quiet study space that has multiple tables in it, so multiple people can work in that study space at the exact same time, and I absolutely loved it. The atmosphere was amazing. It was really nice being surrounded by other people who were there to get their schoolwork done. It felt really motivating, and it honestly felt like watching those study with me videos, but it was in real time. And I also really loved how bright the room was. There was so much natural light coming in. And overall, this study session went really well. I got a lot of work done. I was very productive. I think I was at the library for like 6 hours, but I obviously was not studying for those 6 hours like consecutively because that's just unrealistic and my brain would have been fried at the end of it. But what I did was I would study for anywhere between like 45 minutes, sometimes it was 30, sometimes it was 25, and then I take breaks accordingly. So then I could just like recharge my shelf and feel refreshed. So yeah. When I came home, I was slightly tired. However, I did remember that my siblings had a bake sale the next day, and they specifically asked me to make something for them, and they really wanted me to make them chocolate chip cookies. So I was like, okay, I will. But the thing is, we didn't have any butter on hand, so I ended up using margarine instead. So I followed Basel's chocolate chip cookie recipe, and not gonna lie, it turned out really well. I didn't have very high expectations for this recipe, but again, I really liked the way that the cookies tasted in the end. I also really love the way that they spread out, I guess you could say. So if you don't have any margarine on hand, I would definitely recommend following that recipe. But then I ended off the day with just like going to sleep because I was tired. So yeah. So this day was Tuesday, April 25th, which was also my birthday. So yes, I did write an exam on my birthday. But apart from that, I'm at school right now, and I was going over some last minute notes for my leadership exam. And not gonna lie, this course, one thing that really overwhelmed me about this is just there was just so much material and so much content that we had went over. There were so many different definitions that we went over and theories. So in the beginning, I didn't really understand how to approach studying because I didn't really understand what was going to be tested on. We didn't have any midterms throughout this entire course. It was pretty pretty much just quizzes. So it's not like, oh, you know, just focus on everything after midterm, like 1 or 2. So pretty much what I did was I went through like the chapter overview and I focused on a lot of the big concepts for each chapter. And honestly, that was actually a really good move because a lot of the big concepts that I did review were actually on the exam. Another thing that my professor did that I really appreciated was he pretty much just told us what like the specific topics we were going to be tested on for the long answer, so I could come in already knowing like what questions I would be tested on so I could prepare ahead of time. So there's that. It felt really nice being done with my first exam. So after I finished my leadership exam, I hopped on the bus and I headed straight to the library. And because it was my birthday, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna treat myself to something. So I ended up getting some bubble tea. This is passion fruit bubble tea. It was good. Like, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, like this is amazing, it's out of this world. If I was gonna rate it, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10. It was pretty like average bubble tea, I guess you would say. But this exam that I'm studying for, on this day specifically, is my accounting exam. I mean this in the most respectful way possible, but I absolutely despise accounting with a passion. I don't understand how people enjoy doing this. I just don't understand why people pursue this field of study. I've tried. I have really tried my best to like this specific study, but I just don't. I don't know. It's just not for me. And studying for this exam was so overwhelming. Out of all my exams, this was the one that made me the most anxious. This was the one that I felt the least confident about. And I did as many practice examples and questions as I could to prepare myself for this exam, but I continued to find myself struggling. So there was also that as well. But one thing I really tried my best to do was to just be patient with myself. And I really tried my best to go over some of like the bigger concepts that we had studied in class, and understand how to like prepare different entries or how to solve specific problems. So that's kind of how I approached this. And in the next clip, you can see that I didn't even bother like filming anything the morning of my accounting final. I was just too overwhelmed. So I just woke up in the morning, did my studying, and then I ended up writing my final. And I was just happy when it was over with. I really was. And yeah, surprise, I am back at the library once again. So this day specifically, I was studying for my management final. I wasn't too overwhelmed to study for this course just because we, like, a lot of the content and like the material that we had went over was very, like, it was heavily repeated throughout the class, so I felt relatively confident preparing for this final. One thing that I really liked doing specifically throughout this week was whenever I would study, I would like to have like some sort of like snack with me. I didn't do this every single day, obviously, but I feel like if I am going to be preparing for more exams like back to back like this, I feel like it's kind of nice. Like, you know, like some days I would go out and I'd get like myself like bubble tea or like a smoothie, or sometimes I would get myself a snack. Again, as I said before, I don't obviously do this all the time. You can see that there's also other clips where I'm like studying and I, you know, just drinking water, but I feel like sometimes it's just nice to have like a little snack with me. And sometimes on days where I'm having snacks that, you know, aren't as healthy like candy, I usually like to add to it. So if I'm having like chocolate, I'll try to add like some sort of like fruit to it, or if I'm having like chips or something, I will try to add some sort of like vegetable, but relatively I will try my best to eat something that is healthy. On this day specifically, I had some Brookside chocolate. Oh my goodness, the blueberry acai flavor is so good. I absolutely loved it. Another thing is, this year I've been using an iPad for studying, and honestly I feel like it's changed the game in the way that I have, I don't know, not perceived doing schoolwork, but I don't know, I feel like it's just enhanced my experience as a student. One thing I really love is how I can just download not download, but more so like airdrop my slides onto my iPad. And I tend to find that during class, sometimes I can be so fixated on writing everything and getting everything down on the board that I miss a lot of the important things that the professor is saying. But now that I actually have my notes right in front of me and I can like specifically write on the slides, it's really nice just because I can just add in the things that the professor is saying and add in like the examples that he's using. And on top of that, I can also record my lectures as well. So I really appreciate that. Not saying that you can't do these things without an iPad, but I tend to find it just makes it easier when you have an iPad. Another thing is, on days like these where I'm having longer study sessions, I like, it's so important that you take breaks. And one thing I really noticed that made a big difference was the breaks that I took where I was on my phone versus the breaks that I took when I was off my phone. I felt completely different. Like, in between some of my breaks, like in the beginning, I would go on my phone and I'd like, you know, just scroll like TikTok or maybe like Instagram. However, when I switched and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read instead, I felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt a sense of mental clarity. I felt refreshed. I felt as though my breaks made me feel more energized. And I don't know, I just really liked it. I really appreciated it. So this week specifically, I ended up reading a book by Abby Jimenez. It was called Friend Zoned. And again, it was just like nice, like doing some schoolwork and then like transitioning into like reading and then going back and forth. I really enjoyed it and I would highly recommend it. It felt so nice walking to this library knowing that I was going to be studying for my fourth and final exam, and this is my health psychology exam. I felt very confident studying for this exam. There were only 3 chapters that we were being tested on, and the information was not complex at all. I had a very easy time comprehending and understanding everything that this chapter was asking me to do, and we also had an article that we had to go over that our professor like really stressed the importance of, just because we were going to be tested on it. So that's pretty much what I spent majority of the time doing at the library. I went over flashcards, I did some practice questions, and I also annotated and analyzed the article that we were given. It was roughly 10 pages, so it was kind of long, to be honest. And I was just sitting there like on my iPad, like annotating, highlighting, and once again just making sure I really thoroughly understood what this article was, you know, talking about. So I pretty much did that for the entirety of my time at the library, and that session went really well. And then after, in the next clip, you can see me like preparing to go and like actually like write my exam in the morning. So I walk into the exam, right? And for me personally, I'm the type of person that whenever I'm handed an exam, I always start off with the long answer or the short answer questions first. Because at the end of the day, there's like 2 minutes left till I have to hand in my exam. If it's multiple choice question, I can just guess. But at the end of the day, you can't really do that with a long answer question. And I'm the type of person that I'll read a long answer question. Sometimes I won't really understand what it's saying, or sometimes I won't remember the material right away. So I'll write the exam and then like the answers come back to me like halfway through the exam. That's kind of like how I like to work my way through my tests. However, I received this exam, I look at the short answer questions, and I don't see any questions that have anything to do with nudge theory, which was the article that I read. So it's like, okay, there are no short answer questions on it, so they'll probably be in the multiple choice. I finished writing the entire exam. Tell me why there wasn't even one question on this article. And it wasn't to say that I was mad. I was kind of just like, oh, well, that was kind of like a letdown, because, you know, the professor had expressed how important it was for us to read this article because we were going to be tested on it. And I did that, and it wasn't on the exam. So it was kind of frustrating. But anyways, I wrote the exam, and I wouldn't necessarily say reading the article was a waste of time, because I feel like the information that I gained from it was still somewhat insightful. So there was also that, but walking out of my psych exam, I felt so happy. It was a weight lifted off my shoulders, knowing that I had no more schoolwork that I had to do, no more exams that I had to do, and also really, it wasn't necessarily suspicious, but I finished that exam very fast. Like, I think I finished it in maybe like 45 minutes. So there's that, but that was pretty much the end of my exam week. When I got home from that exam, my goodness, I was so tired. I went to bed, I just slept, and that's honestly all that was on my mind, because I was so exhausted. But yeah.